Breaking news, Israel is officially talking shit about Donald Trump. They're saying, hey, you want to do the Saudi deal without us? You ain't got the fucking Senate to do it, bitch. And I know it's anti-Semitic to say that Israel controls their government. I'm not saying it. Israel's saying it. So is this still anti-Semitic? I don't know. But who would have thought Donald Trump is Hamas?
Pete Hegseth has just canceled his upcoming trip to Israel as the U.S.-Israeli ties are breaking apart. Yesterday it was announced that Trump and Netanyahu have cut all contact and the fallout is continuing today. It all started 2 weeks ago when an Israeli war plan leaked showing they were ready to strike Iran without President Trump's permission. That's whenever Trump fired back and said that we will not be dragged into a war. It's escalated the past week whenever National Security Advisor Mike Waltz was caught using an Israeli Signal group chat to send sensitive information directly to Netanyahu, which number one is treason, and number two, he should have been fired, but he was instead just demoted. And the breaking point for Israel was yesterday when the U.S. was normalizing relations with Saudi Arabia and Israel wanted a cut of the deal. This is whenever Trump said he was disappointed in Netanyahu and we will no longer take Israel's interests whenever we are negotiating in the Middle East.
Why is Hegseth suddenly the target of such a coordinated media and political onslaught? To answer that, we need to look at a New York Times report from last week that's flown under the radar. A report that might reveal the real reason the knives are out for Pete Hegseth. According to the New York Times on April 14th, Hegseth was one of a few senior officials advising President Trump against authorizing a military strike on Iran. Yep, you heard that right. Hegseth, the supposed warmonger, was urging restraint. Hegseth, alongside others, reportedly argued that a strike on Iran would be a dangerous escalation, potentially dragging the U.S. into another broader Middle East war. But the plot thickens. Posts on X are buzzing, claiming neocons and the Israeli lobby pushed these firings to clear out anti-war voices and pave the way for a Pentagon chief who will back a war with Iran. It isn't just about leaks, it's about controlling the Pentagon and America's foreign policy. Hegseth's dovish stance on Iran puts him at odds with a powerful force, the Israeli lobby and its allies in Washington. Israel has long viewed Iran as its top existential threat, and its government, led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, has pushed for aggressive U.S. action against Tehran. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, Israeli lobby, and its neoconservative allies want a defense secretary who will green light a war with Iran, not someone preaching restraint. Hegseth's America First skepticism of endless wars makes him a threat to that agenda. Israeli lobby, frustrated by Trump's hesitation on Iran, sees Hegseth as a roadblock. Replacing him with a hawk like Mike Pompeo or Tom Cotton, names floated in D.C. circles, would pave the way for a U.S.-backed war with Iran, fulfilling Israel's strategic goals, but risking American lives and treasure. It's about whether America gets dragged into another Middle Eastern quagmire. Trump met with Netanyahu in February of 2025, reports surfaced that Trump assured the Pentagon would not intervene if Israel struck Iran, a signal of alignment with Israel's hawkish stance. Suddenly, Hegseth's role as a voice of caution makes him a problem. Media frenzy led by outlets like the New York Times and the Atlantic, both of which have ties to establishment foreign policy circles. Add to that the firing of 4 senior America First Pentagon aides loyal to Hegseth, and this smells like an orchestrated hit job.
When I heard the story, I had a triple fact check to make sure it was true. It started with the Israeli Army radio said that Trump cut off direct communications with Benjamin Netanyahu, and Trump is going to proceed to do U.S. policy in the Middle East without Israel. America cutting ties with Israel and Netanyahu? We'll see how long this lasts, but this is a real story. All the news sources are also reporting that Trump feels Netanyahu is trying to manipulate him, which he is, and that Netanyahu is making him look naive and manipulated to the public, which is sadly also true. And we all know Trump spends a lot of time on social media, and you know he sees all the political memes against him. Trump and the American presidency should no longer be under Israel. Because whether you like or hate Trump, you can agree that his ego will never allow him to be somebody else's puppy and to be lowered in public, which is what Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to do to him. But what will happen now? Let's hope Israel does not try and John F. Kennedy him, because let's face it, that is a possibility.
Breaking Israeli radio reports that President Trump has decided to cut contact with Netanyahu, stating that Netanyahu and his associates act arrogant and try to push around the president. Close associates of Trump told Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer that the president feels disrespected and manipulated by Netanyahu, and that there's nothing he hates more than appearing as easily manipulated in public via IDF radio. Please, Lord, on all that is holy, let this be true. Oh man, this is the one thing that I worried about with Trump, but it looks like he has some good discernment. Please, Lord, let this be true. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.